Just when it seemed like the hopes for a new Macs were fading, Mark Gurman emerges to save the day. Yes, he's hinting at a significant Mac launch of the end of this month. What's truly intriguing is his contemplation of Apple possibly refreshing their high-end MacBook Pros in the same year with M3 Pro and M3 Max chips. In this video, we'll explore why it might make more sense for Apple to provide a stylish update for the 24-inch iMac and why it's so essential. But before we dive into that, let's unravel the roller coaster of leaks from Mark Gurman and my theory on how this roller coaster ride began. Back in July, Mark Gurman had his hopes high for the arrival of the new M3 chip Max in the fall. Unfortunately, earlier this month, he mentioned that the event was no longer on the table, and the outlook seemed bleak. Yet here we are once again speculating about a Mac Center event slated for October 30th or 31st. Now let's focus on the 24-inch iMac and why it appears to be the ideal moment for its release. Firstly, it's been approximately 2.5 years since the original 24-inch Apple M1 iMac debuted, making it a natural candidate for an update. Additionally, Apple tends to avoid releasing iMacs concurrently with other MacBooks and Mac Mini models, as it diminishes the spotlight on each product. This strategic decision was evident when they delayed the 24-inch iMac launch by 6 months after the initial M1 Mac release in November 2020. Moreover, there have been rumblings about delays in Apple's M3 chip release, possibly not happening until early next year. This further reinforces the notion that delaying the iMac release could lead to conflicts with other product launches. Waiting until late next year would likely be counterproductive. Now let's delve into the intriguing evidence supporting the 24-inch iMac release. Rumors from Mark Gurman dating back to February and March suggested that the new iMac was well into its development and could potentially see the light of day in late 2023, aligning perfectly with the end of this month. However, Mark's belief that this iMac might skip the M2 chip in favor of the M3 chip is met with some skepticism. My perspective is grounded in the observation that Apple typically introduces new end chips in the MacBook Air first. Considering the delay of the MacBook Air until next year, it seems unlikely that the M3 chip would debut in the iMac. Another compelling leak comes from the Japanese blog Mac Akara, suggesting that Apple is preparing to launch an iMac with both the M2 and M2 Pro chip options, Thunderbolt 4 ports, Wi-Fi 6E, and Bluetooth 5.3 support. Their previous accurate predictions about iPads lend credibility to their insights. 4 significant reasons support this notion. Firstly, it has been over a year since the release of the M2 chip and around 9 months since the M2 Pro's introduction. Releasing this update now makes sense as next year is expected to be focused on the M3 generation. Secondly, there's a theory about Apple phasing out their Lightning accessories by year-end, implying that the 24-inch iMac might introduce new USB-C Magic peripherals. Thirdly, Hachi the Tech Otter indicated that the 24-inch iMac might feature the M2 chip rather than the M3 due to Apple's surplus of M2 chips. This surplus was also behind the release of the 15-inch Air with the M2 chip and the Vision Pro headset. Lastly, the emergence of color-matched USB-C to USB-C cables intended for the iPhone 15 launch suggests that these cables are meant for the iMac. Apple seems to be gearing up for a year-end release to transition away from Lightning. Regarding the possibility of the M3 Pro and M3 Max MacBook Pros getting released, it seems unlikely. Apple typically avoids releasing such updates in close succession as it can lead to confusion among consumers. If they were to release them so soon, it might signal their eagerness to move past the M2 generation. In conclusion, there's a strong indication that next week's launch could unveil the 24-inch iMac with both M2 and M2 Pro chips. If you agree with this analysis, let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and explore our other videos like the one on the 12.9-inch iPad Air, which also holds some intriguing surprises. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next exciting update.